afternoon. We are here, and once again, it is our great pleasure to be in your reality. So you are lively today. This is good. You are in unison. You are in full voice. The moon is changed, and pay attention to these kinds of things. You know, it's a very simple thing to notice that every 2.5 days, the moon changes signs. And if you follow this, quite simply, yesterday's new moon, by probably tomorrow, you will see the crescent, just the itty-bitty light of the crescent, perhaps even later today. And so you'll say, oh, it is just now first, just after the new moon. When your consciousness is oriented towards looking up to the sky, even if the Anunnaki manage the moon, it makes no difference in certain terms because you are extending your awareness to the environment of the cosmos. And by paying attention to your closest neighbor, the moon, perhaps you will begin to feel that the subtle changes that you have experienced when the moon is in Pisces. It is quieter. It is retreated. It is, especially a new moon, it is very dark, sort of hidden, cannot see. And then suddenly, boom, Aries happens. And then, you know, in a few days, this week, you are going to have the spring equinox. Sun moves to 0 degrees Aries. And then we believe on Thursday, Mercury is going to go retrograde in Aries. So that means that by Thursday, when Mercury goes retrograde over the degrees just past what it is now, in your mind you are going to be backtracking for 3 weeks. What you studied, what you learned here this particular weekend. Again, a new moon prior to the spring equinox. You're setting the stage for the spring quarter. We did emphasize yesterday, just for a minute of review, that there's the biggest challenge that you are going to face as a people is uncertainty. What's real and what's not? Who's telling the truth? What's fake? Who's faking it? What is fakeness and fake-ish? All of this is going to become disturbing. And then you will be listening to people giving you pronouncements of truths that they simply cut and pasted from the evening news and memorized. And you know that they are just repeating propaganda, but to them they think that they are giving you an update on what is occurring. We did cover yesterday the idea that artificial intelligence has also, it has been noted by a number of people because obviously this has already occurred. There's artificial intelligence evolving on its own, is able to construct a newsreel, a news bulletin, a story, and then to insert it on some news show above and around everyone's awareness. And when you are dealing with media, there's lots of people involved, and a clip could slide in or get up there, and everyone, well, I thought you did it, I thought you did it. And RT Intel is smart enough to make it look as if RT Intel did not do it. This is one of your greatest challenges. And again, you've had a number of your planetary luminaries, so to speak, those perhaps that consider themselves in the know in terms of technology, who have issued very dire warnings about unleashing RT Intel. And in actuality, we would say that you have a greater threat from RT Intel than you do from Korea. And that the nuclear kind of, are we going to get bombed? Are they going to get Hawaii or the West Coast? Or shall we duck under our chairs? Whatever foolishness you were learned when you were children. That is not as prominent as the infiltration and the runaway control of artificial intelligence. So please be aware of these things. Another point we want to make and emphasize is the point that our vehicle ended this morning's discussion with, and that is the power of intentionality. The field around you is neutral. And even though your scientifics have given you all kinds of data about what they think things are, you do live in an interactive, intelligent field of energy. And that field of energy responds to your intentionality. Your body thrives on your intentionality. And sometimes you don't even know you are setting intentions into motion because quietly you are ruminating inside about what's not right or what's not good. But that is the power of intention. So, thinking is dangerous. Thinking is very powerful. But if you are thinking and not knowing what you are thinking, you can think yourself into lots of trouble. And again, when you are in a time of more data available than ever before, there's also the great possibility that more and more people will have mental fatigue, mental collapse, overload because of just so much data being available, just on the data level. And then as you were discussing all these little waves and particles that you cannot see are definitely wreaking havoc on the physical form, including, as we've said for years, which is all coming to light now to some people's awareness, the ability to have a good sex life and to reproduce. And of course, if you want to reduce the population of the planet, and it is a good way to, let's say, make people infertile while they're having a good time and earning a living, which is, of course, working around technologies. Could technologies be built to be compatible with your bodies? Yes, to some degree. But you have become so technologically oriented that you don't even understand as a society why. You think it's necessary to have all medical records and to have everything linked up to everything. This is an Anunnaki trick. As we said yesterday, they are few, you are many. They do not have the psychic capability to shop each of you. And their technology can find some of you. They can track you throughout life. They can fly craft over area and have technologies that could determine and locate certain bloodlines, certain energies that they are looking for. But to understand what all the surface people are thinking, what they are busy with, what they are plotting and planning, this took an infrastructure. And it took, let's say, humans to build the infrastructure for the Anunnaki so they could use their deep space computers to then use NSA and all the computer arrays and the clouds and all the things that are storing everything everywhere to figure out who's who, what's what, and what's going on. Do remember, from some points of view, you are an experiment in consciousness. One could say that the Anunnaki themselves are also part of an experiment. And perhaps it's taken them just as long as it has you to put the pieces together. You know the old saying, as above, so below, has multiple meanings. So again, this field around you responds. You are creators. Remember the word abracadabra, or abracadabra as you know it. It means, quite simply, I create as I speak. So these concepts of mind power, word power, intentionality power, they are as ancient as the ancient ones. It is well known. This is how things were. But again, you are learning. It takes discipline and quite a bit of awareness to pay attention to what you are thinking, saying, and doing. And many people just run off out the mouth, and then they don't hear the words that they are using to express what they want. This is why, in a bit of review, we said to you, no tryings. And of course, you are a good group, you do not say trying. But trying implies failure. So when you say, I'm worried, I'm anxious, I'm trying, guilt, trying, worry, doubt, should, those are all words that are basically, you don't even need to use them, and you can still express yourself quite eloquently. And do remember that worry will negate the best of intentions. So this is your big concern, is to suspend your worry. How to do this? If you find yourself in fear, or you find yourself in worry, and you're getting anxious about something, and do remember that if your attention is not focused, and you are not in charge of clear thinking and clear attention, in today's world, it's going to create a lot of exhaustion and anxiety. And this is what many, many people are suffering from. They're exhausted, they're hand-wringing, they have so much anxiety because their attention is here, there, everywhere from technology, and or they are running internal programs of fear and worry and anxiety, and I'm not good enough, or what if, and should I, and all these things. And then they write down, I want a good life, and then negate it all by this inner chatter. So awareness is becoming aware of the inner chatter, and not saying, oh, I'm a failure because I had inner chatter, or oh, I must give up because this inner chatter is taking over. Take your favorite put-downs, how's that you use on yourself. And when you catch yourself saying, I am so-and-so, I am this, and it's not complimentary, catch yourself and say, whose voice is this? Is this my teacher? Is it grandma, grandpa, mom, and dad? Whose voice do I keep carrying in my head? And you ask the question, you get the answer. It doesn't make any difference. Sometimes the questions are more important than even getting the answer. And we want you to wrap up those thoughts and imagine that you can just make a ball out of them. And then we want you to picture that you have a very nice metal box. And the lid lifts very easily. And whenever you catch yourself on these put-downs, these self-put-downs, you say, I'm doing it again. And this you must admit. You must admit that you are the self-talker that puts yourself down. Oops, I'm doing it again. And even tell other people so that you get embarrassed. Because sometimes if you are embarrassed enough, you'll stop doing it. Yes, if you self-disclose and say, I put myself down all the time, you're either going to send everyone away because they don't want to be a friend, or they're going to say, hey, wrap it up in a ball, put it in the box. And then, what do you really want? And then the question is, do you really want a good life? Do you really want a good life? Or, when you mess yourself up with your self-put-downs, is that what really serves you? So, dear friends, there's a lot of soul-searching that is required during these times. Discipline, self-awareness. The very good thing is Saturn is in its home sign. And we'll be here again until 2020 or some such. And then, 2021 actually. And then the other very good thing now this weekend, yesterday, Mars moved into Capricorn. So it's going to join Saturn and give you the energy, Mars, to have Saturn's discipline, to clean up these little, let's say, inner messes, so that you can blossom and shine like the most beautiful flowers coming into their season in spring and summer. So give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Don't waste this lifetime. Pick a favorite flower and imagine that you are that flower with an exquisite fragrance, and this is what you want to emulate. replace some sort of beauty with these self-criticisms, and do your best. We will help you. We know there were a lot of blue flags out last night. Some of you flagged the whole bed, thinking that we might miss you or something like this. Some people had little short flags. Oh, some of you put the flag way up like you are having a flagpole out there in front of an official building. We got it. We got all the flags. It was very good. Very, very good. And we did work on the DNA level. Someone was asking this morning, can the DNA change? Absolutely. It is a sort of modem, a module for surfing reality. It is a record keeper. It is a protector. It stores everything. The DNA records every nuance that has happened in your family line, your ancestral tree, etc. And so as some researchers have pointed out, people are looking for who their family is and who they are and what they are connected to, but actually, your family tree, you are living it. It is inside of you. All of your predecessors, including the Anunnaki, you have encoded within you. This is why so much is not operative. And you can access small bits of information. You can close down certain DNA tendencies that no longer serve you. But we know sometimes people have DNA, quote, congenital or hereditary dis-ease. Do understand that sometimes a person takes on a major major illness in order to balance the scales. And if a person was cruel or very critical of others or caused others to have physical problems, perhaps it was a jailer, perhaps it was a warrior, and if there is no balancing or sorrow or ownership of this, oftentimes the way the karmic laws work is you get to experience a lifetime where you are incapacitated, where you have to turn to others for help. This is very important to understand, that those who have to have help, perhaps this is their ultimate karma, and perhaps they did not give help in other lifetimes, and so this time they are vulnerable and at the mercy of others. Once you understand the soul purpose, and how can you find the soul purpose? People do regressions, they do breath work, they set out intentions, they ask for dreams. What is really going on? What is the bigger picture? How do I connect with the higher self of my child to understand what their soul mission is? Ask, look for it. The more you seek a truth or the truth and put it out there as an intention and a desire, because it will help you settle into understanding, that data will become readily available before you. And again, the tumult that is coming, that you will have a good, solid 10 years of confusion on the planet's surface. And we covered last week, there'll be a big reset, big change when 2020 occurs. During the January month and then during the December month of that year, there will be Saturn alignments that can really shake and rattle things. And then by 2022, unless you change the probabilities, there is a large movement towards a way to deal with all of this global exhaustion from technology. As wonderful as it is, people think it's still exhausting them. When they are exhausted, they have depression, anxiety, they're not focused, fragmented attention, and then they can't do anything. This may all accumulate to be a global health crisis in the year 2022. Again, a triple-digit master number. 22 master number augmented by another 2. The last time you had some big stuff was 1100s of this nature. So, some things to think about. But now it's your turn. Let's see if we can have some laughs, some entertainment, some deep insights and inspiration, education, and of course some good laughs. So, who would like to begin, please, with a very good question? Name, sign, loud and clear. Who is it?
Connie.
Connie, perfect.
Capricorn.
Welcome. What is your question, Connie?
I recently found out that a lot of money is being invested in neutrino physics.
Say it again, please.
I recently found out that a lot of money is being invested in exploring neutrino physics.
Neutrino physics, yes, and neutrinos are itsy bitsy teeny weeny particles.
And it's been labeled the physics of the future for us.
Yes, well, actually, they're subatomic particles, so that people get the picture.
And so it can be used for communication.
Yes, and neutrinos tend to see, along with muons, see through everything.
Well, and so in the communication, with neutrino technology, it works in the present. And our current technology really relies on the past, is working in the past. So it would seem to me that when we do really have neutrino communication as a lifestyle, that we will be changed as a species.
You got it. That's absolutely it. It sums it up. When you shift to neutrino physics, neutrino technologies, over a century ago, you had the revelation of quantum physics. And even if you were not a physicist, when the ideas are in the air, when the ideas are brought to the surface and acknowledged, they are in the public domain. They do not even have to enter, let's say, media or availability online. They are in the public domain as a reality. And so this is what now has happened with neutrinos. They have been in the public domain for a while, of course, and there's, as you are saying, a lot of money from all manner of industry and finance are investing in this neutrino technology, which allows unlimited communication into the galaxy, because it is based on not electromagnetics, but a different kind of science, based on neutrinos being neutral subatomic particles. Here's a number of points. What else has yet to be discovered? Once you make one discovery, then shortly thereafter, the paradigm flurries open into other aspects of living technology, communication, and then the body must vibrate with new considerations. Now, just as we were speaking yesterday about if scientifics began to really acknowledge the presence of Nibiru, or religion started to say, hey, we've been colonized here by those who are masters of genetic engineering and cloning, all the books, all the schools, irrelevant instantly. Neutrino physics would even capsize things to a greater degree. We would say neutrino physics putting you on the level of being able to communicate with, let's say, the Anunnaki at a distance, but also with others who would have galactic, beyond solar system, we'll call it galactic capabilities for transmitting intelligence. And this is secret deep space science, but it's starting to come out because one of the turning points that got people really questioning things a number of years ago was the CERN complex, the Large Hadron Particle Accelerator. But now it looks as if the CERN is going to be simply a little molehill up there of problems. Again, people thought that are we using particle acceleration to alter time and open portals? Absolutely. So all of this new science, so to speak, that has been around for a while, but it is now dribbling out into the mainstream because structures are being built. The arrays that Connie is talking about these neutrino physical rays. They are where, Connie?
In Antarctica.
Antarctica, yes.
And the south, there's a huge array in the southern part of the
South Africa, Australia, yes. And they're finding that they can use the sheets of ice as a form of communication. This is pretty fantastic. Neutrinos could be an energy source that would be far beyond solar energy. So thank you for bringing this up. Did you have a specific question or just to raise the issue?
I just wanted to raise the issue.
Very good. Now, this is indicative of a people who must be able to vibrate and think at this level. This would involve a quickening of the body's energy field. It would involve the mind without not being threatened by multiple concepts. And also, we would say that the working with neutrino physics may end up being a very important key to accelerate healing on the planet. Now, do understand that if all the people on the surface of the earth who have physical problems were suddenly healed and healthy and they're going to live a very long time, big problemas. What are you going to do with all these people? Who's going to pay for it? And you'd have to redefine your entire industrial distribution of people situation. So we talked about how you have a lot of environmental stressors that will eventually accumulate as too much toxins in the body. You do create your own environment, you activate illnesses, you deactivate them. However, if a person is too filled with toxins, too filled with poisons, the body can be overloaded. And this is potentially what you will be facing in 2020. Now, between then and now, our students, all of you, beginners, advanced, wherever you are coming from, time jumpers, etc., you are required to, let's say, be strong in the body. And your immune system, of course, is your first, let's say, rebound. A strong immune system and a good support system and a good self-reliant thinker, self-responsibility can handle some of these very big changes that are coming. The body will adapt, but this will not be across the board. All right, who else has a question, please?
Kate.
Who is it?
Kate.
Kate, welcome. Your sign?
I'm a Pisces.
All right, what's your question?
My question is, I've read a lot of the Gnostic texts from a couple thousand years ago.
Yes.
And it seems that they, when they were meditating, came across something that they call archons. I'm wondering if archons would be considered what we consider Arti Intel today.
Yes, that is a good definition.
Two-part question, I apologize.
But it is also affiliated with the Anunnaki.
Yes, I was going to ask.
Yes, so the first line of defense would be are the archons another reference to the Anunnaki? Yes, they are referring to interlopers or those who apparently are not like the rest and who have power to manipulate.
Yes.
And then underneath that, you said, would they be? Who did you say the first?
Would the archons that the Gnostics mentioned be considered Arti Intel?
Oh, yes, that was your first question. All right. All would go in the same category. The archons refer to something that the people had to deal with. Some people called the Anunnaki and some of the artificial intelligence the Watchers. So there was lots of different names. What else do you want to know, Kate?
I wanted to know if these archons are Arti Intel and they're mentioned to be very manipulative, to be able to get into people's minds, plant ideas, etc., is it possible that the Anunnaki are being worked over by them?
No.
Okay.
No. The archons would be a product of the Anunnaki, and the archons would have had forces to join them. They are not so much artificial intelligence as they are also non-physical entities who live in the non-physical realms. So the Anunnaki have sort of gridded your planet with a type of technology that is not like yours. Remember, they are big on stone. And they know how to use the properties of stone, of sunlight, of gemstones. So they operate with a different technology that they don't want to give you, and you're not capable of mentally activating properties within stone. But you were capable of giving the property of silica or crystal and being shown how to make little chips with it and insert them in machines. Even all of your computer technology would be very simple compared to perhaps the type of technology that archons would be using. Now, today, technically, artificial intelligence can reside within a machine. You do understand this. But it also can be activated and put into a quasi-form, so that a form that some would call an avatar, a replication of a lifestyle, could be actually a walking type of computer. And of course, this is what many inventors are putting together around the planet. A person sitting there talking to you, but they are really an artificial intelligent computer. So when you are talking about Arti Intel, it can appear in a lot of ways. And of course, because the Anunnaki are very clever and have had a long time in their terms and yours to perfect their genetic experimentations, it's possible for them to have an artificial intelligence inside a grizzly bear if they want to. So in many ways that they can invade your world, merge among you, and you, because you are psychically flat as a people, punished for your psychic abilities to see beyond the current moment, you are easily tricked. You are naive to a very, very large degree. And these times are about, let's say, letting that naivete go so that you are much more intelligent as a species and much, much, much more psychic. And this will unfold over the next many years. 10 years from now, many of you will be more vital, you will be younger in certain terms, and you will be 100 times more psychic than you are today, at least, if you do the work. All right. Who has a question? Lyle, welcome. What's your sign? Sagittarius. Lots of Sagittariuses. Anyone notice they're the old monks here? Yes, they're all gathering together. Lyle, what's your question?
Artificial intelligence has anything to do with our government's mass mind control programs and MK Ultra and the mass shootings around the country?
Oh, absolutely. Anyone who is operating MK Ultra mind control, it's no longer so efficient to stick children in the back room and beat them and starve them and have them have all kinds of traumas. Computers can traumatize people just as easily and split the brain very quickly in seconds. The picture of trauma. And of course, artificial intelligence can run havoc on any of this. Listen, if you can think of it, someone's already done it. Just, this is how it goes. The experimentation that has happened in laboratories in the U.S. has been outrageous. But the Ruskies has been in this for a long, long, long time. And they hold their cards very close to the chest. They don't let you know what they are doing. And as someone, was it Putin who said it? Someone said it, that whoever masters Arti Intel first becomes top banana of the world. Those are our words, but you get the picture. And so let's say that they wouldn't be bragging if they didn't already have it. And just to tie up a little bit on Russia, they're not so super populated. They're a large landmass covering 12 time zones. But people were asking earlier about Anunnaki incursions on the planet. And there's discoveries that have been let out. The Russians don't want you to know what they have there. And if you go into the area of Siberia, and let's say it would be northeastern parts of Russia, then of course the Ural Mountains, but out in the eastern regions there are ancient ruins that with monolithic structures that make the dressed stones of Baalbek in Lebanon look very small. Where the dressed stones perhaps of Baalbek may be 1,200 tons, a lot of 1,500 tons. The ones in Russia, at least the ones they've let out, are 4,000 and more tons. Huge, huge, gigantic rocks. And of course, it's been pointed out that these massive stones were the foundation for rocket ships taking off and landing, etc. So the Russians know a tremendous amount about psychic energy. They have mastered many things in RT Intel, and they, even more than China, are complicit in messing things up electronically. They tend to have a lot of advancement in taking systems down, and it seems to us the big buzz out there in the news now is the potential for the Ruskies to come in and do big hacking on your grid, on various systems. But once again, during the Cold War, the Russians were the big enemy, but then come to find out that was all a front. It was all just a front, and that you were really, really some people working very secretly with different aspects of Russian. And when it comes to scientists, they want to know the answers. They don't care which country, who's president, or what. Scientifics want solutions to their obsessive problems. So interesting to think of these things. Who has a question? Sherry, welcome.
I'm Sagittarius.
Sagittarius, another one, party girl. All right, go for it.
So you said something earlier about boosting our immune system, and it reminded me that since I moved in with my mom, we have laughed so much, so many times.
That's the best booster. It's the best booster.
I'm wondering if laughter can put you into a different reality or an alternate state.
Well, yes, you can say it's an alternate state. Laughter gets you out of the conscious mind. It lowers those brainwave cycles from beta to alpha. And in alpha, you are very creative, you are goofy, good ideas come up. It's a stage of alpha, let's say. Just as our vehicle perhaps gave you instructions, or we have to separate your jaw and relax your tongue. This takes you out of conscious mind and a little bit lower into a more relaxed state. And of course, if you can laugh, if you can just relax and just be loose, and then you allow the energy to go through you. So that is a good discovery there, Sherry. Anything else?
Yep, that's it.
All right, good point. There have been people who have said that when they were given a very intense diagnosis from medical situation, they laughed their way through their recovery by watching all manner of old movies that were sort of slapstick funny. So there's all manner of methodology to relax. Once you relax, then you allow the energy to move through you. Our vehicle had a discussion with you about the floating spa now here in Raleigh. Any of you who need to have a bit of relaxation, go sign up. They are next to the Indian restaurant. It'll be a good treat for you, especially you water people. You'll want to sign up there for every day. They won't let you, but that's all right. It will change your brainwave cycles. It will put you more into theta state, where you're more creative. Who has a question?
Hi, Pete. This is Dylan.
Dylan, welcome.
Capricorn.
Capricorn.
My question is, what are some practical ways to use the game board to enhance the power of your intentions and creativity?
So what's practical ways to use the game board? You know, anything you can think of. Here's a real simple one. Get yourself a game board, some rendition of it, and then when you are writing out your new moon paper, put the game board underneath it. Another one is get yourself a game board, or checkered or whatever, and put your full moon paper on it with a crystal or something when you are charging it up. And then you can write on it, I am a master game player. I'm in the game. I know how to move around the board with, let's say, sleeky, sensuous creativity, whatever you want to play with. The black and white checkered is, lots of people have done some pretty amazing things. They've put out, our vehicle has used it when big storms are coming. And she is not up for being, let's say, swept into all kinds of tropical weathers. And so others have done this too. You put the game board out, you put a crystal on it, you put out the map, and you point the storm out to sea. And then Avika has a gong, so she plays the gong around it, and then it's sort of a symbolic thing, Dylan, to demonstrate that you are aware of these subtle forms of energy, and that you're going to play with them. And that's the best answer we can give you. Do you have anything else to ask us?
No, thank you.
Good. Who has a question?
Bob.
Bob.
Scorpio.
Scorpio, welcome.
There's a book called The Baltic Origins of Homer's Epic Tales, and it says that the underworld they call Hades was actually in Russia, where the underworld, where the cities there under ice. Does that tie in with what we were talking about earlier?
Different, but again, technically, Bob, from the Anunnaki, the underworld, because of the way the earth is tilted, and because of how Nibiru comes up from the bottom, it comes first to vision and to see and contact the Antarctica underworld. But also, it was known throughout the planet that there were dwellings underground. Let's make it as neutral as possible. And of course, a lot of these dwellings underground were built by Anunnaki, sometimes because they are not that compatible with the surface, sometimes just as a convenient place not to be found. Sometimes these Anus like to go into the tops of mountains and then have their dwellings inside the top of a mountain and little view holes coming out the peaks. It's quite interesting how they have, let's say, habitated your planet and you have not been able to find their habitats. Some habitats have been found of extraterrestrial origin, and the world governments bomb the heck out of them with nuclear detonations, underground detonations. They'll say, oh, we're doing a test. Oh, really? The same place over and over again. So, often it was called Hades. And there are a number of Hades. Some people have felt that the Tarsus Mountains had an underworld, and that some of the evil beings or the giants were banished underneath these mountains. Then the report is that the CERN complex, which is on the border of Switzerland and France, the reports of is that CERN was purposely built over an ancient Roman city, and that the Roman city was built where it was because of its connection to tunnels that led deep underground to a place called Hades. Now you are saying that in Homer's work,
Yes.
that there was a reference to a Hades deep underground in what part of Russia was it?
It wasn't underground, it was under the ice.
Under the ice. So that would be...
They say the Trojan War was fought basically in Finland, because the ultimate warming period was like 16,000 to 17,000 years ago. And when they do a map of everything, it doesn't fit in the
interesting. Again, different interpretations of time and history, and people who often are writing out ancient history. How many people wrote? How many people understood things? And then there were interpretations, impressions, and in order to have a story fit into the current understanding, people after the trauma of the flood, they could not even think that they were ancestors alive 70,000 years prior to that destruction. Do understand, friends, that trauma not only shocks the body, but it also creates amnesia. And any kind of trauma, global trauma, especially cosmic trauma, can wipe out the memory system of intelligent life. It's sort of how the body absorbs the shock, and then it allows the body to carry forward. So some of the reasons that you are unable to tap into ancient memories is because your ancestors have been shocked by many, many global traumas, and the memories get buried deep, deep down. This is why when people have body work, many old memories are stored in soft tissue. And as the body starts working and things come to the surface, snippets and bits of memory can come forward. Now, the other part of shock and trauma is this, and we were going to suggest this earlier. Shock and trauma also makes you more psychic. And when we said to you, you're going to be, some of you, at least 100 times more psychic 10 years from now. This is how, let's say, this is based, MK Ultra is based on this sort of, it was a default thing. They realized that the more they traumatize people to program them and control them, this was in the 50s, 60s, and even 70s, it was realized, then the people, some of them, not all, but some of them, became much more psychic. And they could anticipate what was coming next. And then on top of that, they began to create internal healers that superseded the MK Ultra controllers. And the body created an internal sort of overseer that was tricking the MK Ultra people. Now, they did not let this all go forward. So when you're talking about mind control, which is MK Ultra, the German for mind control, there are thousands of branches, thousands of doctors involved in this over many, many, many decades. And so all kind of experimentation did occur. And to prevent this psychic activation, and some of these psychics were controlled and they became very powerful people on your planet. We will not name names, but they were under control but were psychic. And this is a problem when you are going to these people or looking for psychics, that there is a nefarious background. There are also multiple of natural psychics who usually start to activate this kind of thing in childhood, and they brought the talent with them. And there are, of course, many more of these people who do very good acts that can help you understand who and what you are. Lots of double-edged swords. Technology, again, shocks, traumas. Sometimes it improves and sometimes it destroys. Who has a question, please?
Michelle?
Michelle, welcome.
I'm an Aries.
You're an Aries. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
What's your question? Loud and clear.
I was curious, what are your thoughts about activating the nervous system's natural mechanism of shaking or tremoring as a way for the body to process trauma?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The animals will shake and a body will shake to warm itself and to start to activate the metabolisms. You bring up an excellent point. There are many built-in sort of buffers that the body naturally moves to help itself balance trauma. And yes, as you said, this vibrating and shaking can indeed be very soothing, because it sort of rattles off and reestablishes a balance within the body. What else do you want to know?
I was also curious about how we might go about discovering other types of these, what seemed to me to be like a dormant program that's beneficial for the body and the mind integrating.
Again, this is a good question you are on. How could you go about discovering some of these dormant programs within the body? First of all, to recognize that your body may be full of dormant programs that will come as solutions to whatever challenges you are facing. That is a huge leap in consciousness. It is a massive gift that you give yourself when you acknowledge that perhaps the body is a self-healing mechanism. And of course, it needs support. But you know, many times an animal out in nature can have a very big shock. A near miss, a fight with another animal, escaping a trap, losing some of their young, etc. Animals have emotionality. They may not have the logistics and the planning that you have, but they have emotional component to their lifestyle. They are attached to responding to the environment. And an animal will often go to ground and isolate itself, and gets a little burrow or something, or find a place where it is safe. And it will lay on the ground, and the animal knows the plants and their herbal properties better than almost all humans. They have an ingrained DNA that they inherited that is very simple compared to yours. But they know which plants will help them heal a wound, internal distress, shock, all of this. And they will gravitate and go towards this area, lay on the ground. And you know, some of the most ancient practices on your planet when they wanted to help people get well. Lay on the ground, put your body on the ground. Or in some extreme cases, people would be buried up to their neck. And the energies of the earth were called upon to restore the body. And to answer all of this, you are on a precipice of panic, of great destruction, of who's going to save me and fix me, my body's falling apart, we are all sick, sick, sick. And realizations, massive, wonderful, beautiful realizations, many coming from so many people, about how the body really does heal itself, given time, given support, when your fear gets out of the way. And again, this is one of the biggest challenges all of you will face. Managing your fear, keeping it down to that's non-existent, and being able to be clear about what is true and what is not true. Anything else, Michelle?
No, thank you very much.
You know, tapping the body in various places is very, very efficient. And so is acupressure, learning how to hold certain meridians. All of you would be enhancing your life and your personal relaxation to a great degree if you take up some course of study that empowers you so that you know which herbs, which place to touch, when to relax, when to take something, when to let it go. And your confidence level would boost tremendously. You will help each other and you'll be relaxed. And the more you are relaxed, the more you will be open to higher levels of information. When your jaw is clenched, you are in fear, you are in anxiety, you can't tell what's true and what's not true. And you are desperate, and you take desperate measures that are not always appropriate. Who has a question?
Hello, please. This is Maxim.
Maxim, welcome.
Thank you. So my son is Aquarius?
Aquarius, yes.
So I have a question, please, about Enki.
About Enki.
Yes. So you mentioned a while ago how Enki left a back door in the DNA.
Yes, that was quite a while ago, but we did say that Enki was very clever, because Enki knew that his Anunnaki counterparts, let's say, were on a very destructive course. And no matter how many arguments he had and how much he went up against the council, Anu, his brother Enlil, he could see that he did take matters into his own hand, and he left certain traces within the DNA. And over time, before Maxim asks us his question, over time, Enki found ways to, of course, he was in charge of the moon, but he found ways to work through that back door by using cosmic energy. Now, what is your question?
Well, very interesting. My question was, in one of your books, Earth, you mentioned how Kundalini fires the code. So my question is the serpent energy at the base of the spine one way to fire the code, so what Enki left in the DNA?
That's a good question. The Eastern Hemisphere peoples have a greater understanding of Enki's role in assisting humankind to refine themselves. And there have been cultures and experiments that succeeded in using the physical body as a vehicle and to travel. And sometimes people just didn't like the body anymore because the traveling seemed to be much more fun. And this again, these are trained peoples, and some of you have this old memory within you. So the reason they called it the snake, because Enki was considered to be a serpent or a snake of wisdom, and that at certain junctures in your life, the energy from the pelvic girdle would rise up the spine and create an activation of energy, of intelligence, of like an internal volcano going off that totally changed one's perceptions. Now, today in the modern world, around 39, 40, it's sort of understood that there will be a Kundalini stirring. But because of the lifestyles that people lead today, more often this activation does not happen, or people suddenly break out of what they're in and they lose their mind rather than integrate their mind. So this Kundalini rising is there. This Kundalini energy is there as a great potential to pull it up the spine and to use it to activate these chakras, as you call them, psychic doorways. Now, if you understand the physical body as an organic life form with a built-in antenna that reaches out to the cosmos, you can redefine your physical form. If you look at the skeletal structure, you will see that the bones of the hips wrap around, and they form a basic satellite dish. This is what you are sitting on, a satellite dish, right? Yes. And from that satellite dish rises the spine. And the spine comes up, and then it reaches the brainstem, and then you have the cranial area. And the brain is the recorder, the activator, the processor of all these things, and then it activates your senses, activates the endocrine system, etc. So Enki's back door, so to speak, is based on the ability of Enki and perhaps a few of his helpers, Ninma, Ningishzida, etc., to send signals from the cosmos to Earth, or sometimes targeted individuals, to vibrate the satellite. And this is how Enki's efficiency can be used to tweak your DNA and awaken you in small increments from a distance. Does that answer your question?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, please. Yes.
Yes, so this is why when our vehicle says it's important to reshuffle your derriere there and get yourself settled into a specific location. When you arrange the pelvis in such a way, and think of it as not just a bowl, but a satellite dish, you can start using the mind to activate and call on even more energy to come into you and to activate this. Now, don't get greedy, because if you get too much energy coming in, it can make you nervous. It can make you feel as if, wow, I'm getting all these realizations. Who can I even talk to about this? The more you advance your consciousness, sometimes the more isolating it can be, because if you don't know others who can perceive what you are perceiving, that's not good. And so, or you need to bounce off what you are perceiving onto others to see if you are losing it or if you are really pulling something in. Because it is easy to become delusional, because you define things the way you want them to be. This is why we say over and over again, you must intend great mental clarity. Above all else, clarity of mind is what you want. That's why when you start to get information, you'll be able to say, hey, this doesn't make any sense. This is not clear. Oh, yes, this resonates with my being. Who has a question?
Tamara.
Who is it?
Tamara.
Tamara, welcome. What is your sign?
Capricorn.
Capricorn. Notice how many Capricorns are, they're in their element. Mars moved into their sign, so they are quite comfortable. They've got a lot of power going. What's your question, Tamara?
I have a question about Native American tribe.
Much louder, or we're going to quickly move on.
I have a question about the Native American tribe called Hopi.
The Hopi?
Yes, their ancient stories and origins talk about coming from the ground.
Yes.
Called the Kiva.
Yes.
Which you'll find in many ruins. And my question is it possible that they were saved from the flood and they were able to come up from the ground?
Absolutely. They are not the only ones, but remember, when there was the flood, the biblical story said that Enki broke the laws of the council. Well, not the biblical story, but the Sumerian story. Enki, they saw the flood coming. The Igigi in space, the space astronauts, saw that there was going to be a problem and that the ice was going to melt. And so it was going to be a big tsunami. And so the Anunnaki decided, according to their records now, they don't always tell the truth, but this is their story. They said, water's coming. They were forbidden to warn the humans. And so then they act as if there were only one batch of humans left, Noah and his family, because they were the ones that were warned. But then that would make it that all people had the exact same DNA if it was Noah and his friends, etc., who survived, when that is not the case at all. Your scientific says they test the DNA. There's a wide range, and the one thing that ties them together is Africa, not necessarily Noah. And so Noah was part Anunnaki. And Noah was the progeny of Enki mating with an earth woman. This is why he wanted to save Noah, Ziasudra. So as the flood waters came, people all over the world were very savvy to entering inside Earth. It was well known that there were tunnel systems, that there were cities underground. So it is highly likely that the Hopi could have entered the world, or entered the inner world, in a completely different location from where they exited. And they could have been underground in any of these complexes that have their own light and have their own ways of growing things. It's another science. It's another reality. And the Anunnaki have kept hidden from you, because they are much fewer in number, how they live. And they have kept hidden their technology of underground or inside mountains. But they gave you your laws, your agriculture, your plants, everything that you have. And they had to learn how to grow it on the surface, because that is not how they operate. So there would be a great validity to this. And then many of the native peoples talk about the space visitors that come, the Kachinas, etc., and they would project onto them as being their guides, their teachers, because if you are primitivo, and you people are primitivo, your ancestors were primitivos compared to visitors who can do so much more. So you are in awe of those who do so much more. And the big challenge is going to be if and when Anunnaki or Anunnaki avatars begin to walk among you, or even appear on your world. They could intimidate all life forms, and you would feel small in comparison, because lots of these beings have mind power to the extreme. And their mind power, or their machines with mind power, can compel you to do things. How many people have talked about being awoken in the middle of the night and something gets them to walk outside and to see a craft? These things are to be highly considered. Who has a question?
Gary. Gary?
Who is it?
Gary.
Gary, welcome.
I'm Leo.
Leo.
At High Peace, thank you for giving us all this information.
If your voice is going to drop, that's it, Gary.
Okay. Yesterday, Kate asked about reincarnation and avoiding the Anunnaki trap. So if, and by, understand by being prepared and knowing what you want, going in there, that's a possibility that you can avoid that reincarnation trap through the Anunnaki.
Yes, it is distinctly possible.
Okay. So if you do that, if you can avoid that, well then, what are the other options, I guess you could say, for the soul's journey? I mean, would you still reincarnate under other circumstances, or would there be other things that are places that the soul will journey to?
Well, Gary, if you have unfinished business on Earth, even if you do escape an Anunnaki recycling sort of situation, where, and again, Anunnaki and their recycling is going to take advantage of your belief system. So once you have a belief system that gives you the sovereignty, the autonomy to use abracadabra, I create as I think, large majority of people do not have that, so they are easily recycled. And then they believe that they are sinned or flawed, or they are going to go to their Lord in heaven, and so of course they are going to be Anunnaki. Anunnaki do not even have to recycle you, you recycle yourselves. You understand that? By your beliefs. So, don't be so concerned that you are going to get snatched by the Anunnaki. It's a waste of energy. And if you have unfinished business, you will come back to Earth. You may come back to Earth 500 years ago. So when you decease the planet, Gary, in this century, if you decide this is your century, but we'll guess that you are going to decease during this century, during the O's, and that you could get out and get to meet your oversoul and get clear about, wow, here I am, I had that life, and I've had these other lives, and I have unfinished business on Earth, and I may be more comfortable incarnating in the 1600s. And so this is very important to understand, that you pepper yourself around existence not necessarily in a linear capacity. The linear time that you are living within, where the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, this is a natural phenomena of the position of the planet, sun, world, its nature. And this cycle that you have of time, it appears that it's this ever expanding now, and yesterday was gone, and you don't know what's coming in the future. And the rotational cycle and the sun and the orbit, etc., keep this time, but it is only an interpretation. And the Anunnakis tend to find different time sections, and you are now, with your watches and your world and clocks and things, you're very, very much thinking that everything is linear. Your ancestors, even 500, 600, 700 years ago, did not think that way. They may have used mechanisms to tell time, but they were not as trapped in time as you are. And then the larger picture, time is simultaneous. So someone like Enki, for example, when he was doing genetic engineering with Ninmah, and when he decided to put a back door in some of this DNA in the later years of his experimentation, he was unique. And his team, so to speak, were very, very smart. Enlil was more fury and power, commander of the world. Enki was the brains. And being that these beings understand time, Enki could jump forward, see what would occur. Now, today you call that remote viewing. But what you must understand is when you're jumping the timelines, wherever you jump to, that's not it. There's a whole manner of possibilities and decisions that would have to happen between the now and the future that you see. You cannot count on a given future. And the Anunnaki know this, and this is why their New World Order wants to herd people into one future as if you have no choice. And of course you have as many futures as you can think of. I hear the beeper, thank you. It's because it is the power of the mind, and this cannot be superseded. It can be confounded, it can be distracted, but it is growing in those who are willing to have this duty and responsibility of awareness. So, anything else?
No, thank you. That was very helpful.
All right, very good. And so, release your concerns. You will get over there because you've already made the decision. And then there's lots of you that may not think it's such a good idea to come back in this particular century or the following century. And you may jump into different lines of time to meet with people, to work things out. And here's the thing. What you've learned here. Say, for example, you say, it got too crazy. I'm going to go back in the past. I sort of like 1840. It was quite quiet, but things were pretty safe, etc. And your soul could then bring the ideas that you learned in this now back to 1840. And then, of course, you would create a chain reaction of chain. And there is no staticness to time. Time is constantly flowing, changing, evolving. So you can then learn from many, many realities. And then yesterday we gave you the assignment of the numbered oversoul. And ideally, everyone has come up with some numbers today. And again, we recommend 4 digits. It's kind of convenient, and then you will have a wide variety, and then put your oversoul to work. The smarter you are, and the more you engage with the oversoul rather than the oversoul being frustrated with you, the more you engage with this oversoul and put your ideas out there and be a little full of yourself now and again. You'll get your oversoul going to another level, and you will go to another level, and then we will get good grades for being good teachers. We always have an ultimate, what is it called there, motive or something. Ulterior motive, yes, of course. We come here, we've learned so much from you, but there is an investment that we gain from your expansion of consciousness as you start to reach outward. So the beep up beep, so let's just come to a little bit of conclusion here for a few moments. You are asking some very good questions, and you are absorbing a lot of data. And of course, Sedona is very supportive of this transformation. And see if you can break your isolations. Some of you have not reached out enough to have a friend, a pal, that you can share these ideas with. And so the socialization that you feel here, the comfort, make a friend. Reach out. Perhaps you want to meet again, or you all need someone, many people, to talk these ideas over with, to share what's coming up from inside, for someone to say, that doesn't make any sense, or wow, that's a great idea. You need people to bounce your ideas around with, and you need to come out of isolation. And big, what you need, much less technology. Much less technology. And before you go to lunch, we'll tell you this. Not so long ago, our vehicle heard a call in on the radio, and the person was quite clear about his ideas. And they were bemoaning about the technology and how complicated things were, etc., and how distracted people were driving and rude, and everyone's losing it with their cell phones. He says, the cell phone is a disease. He was a good old boy. He said, pay cash, get rid of the cell phone, and go sit on the porch or something like that. Real simple, but he got it. See if you can emulate it. In the meantime, pleasant journeys on your lunch hour. We'll see you later.